Well, you join me from a very wet woodland. Just come out today, only not a camp, unfortunately. I was hoping it was going to be, but unfortunately not. Maybe tomorrow evening if the weather changes. Thundery showers, quite heavy rain at the moment, on and off. It's really annoying trying to do jobs around the woods here, stockpiling wood for the winter in our shelter, and we're just sorting out cleaning up around camp. The old summer growth has put a lot of overhanging branches. We're just clearing them up. But the other reason why I come out was I'm teaching some bushcraft courses over the next few months, all around the country. So I'll come to cut some sticks and some just some hazel, some willow, and other bits and bobs. So I'm going to demonstrate how to do a tri-stick, but with the weather forecast, probably going to end up back at the workshop to do this. So yeah, next time you see me, I should be in the workshop, sat down with a cup of coffee, and we'll go through a tri-stick. And it's an easy one for you to learn to improve your knife skills and your notches. So it can be easy, it can be difficult if you get it wrong, but we'll go through it. So grab yourselves a cup of coffee, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. So you join me from the workshop. Oh, it's so nice to be out of that woods. It was getting wet, and the showers were just so annoying, and on and off. I'm hoping to camp tomorrow night because I've got a new sleeping bag to try. So hopefully the wood I've split today will be my bail out for my campfire tomorrow evening, if all goes to plan. So moving on to the tri-stick. What is it? So it's a length of stick, about that. It can be longer, it can be shorter, it can be whatever you want it to be. It first come from the Canadian Boy Scouts magazine, I'm to believe, many moons ago, and it's about notching and carving all different notches in a stick. And Morris Kahinsky really liked the idea, and he's actually done a PDF for anyone who's interested. You can go to his site and download the PDF, and it will tell you how to and what to carve on the notches. Now, you haven't got to do all of them. You've got to do, you can do ones that are specific for you. So if you're into, say, trapping, primitive traps, and that's something that you're learning, then this is a great way to practice all your notches. General bushcraft, which is what we'll cover, ones that we're likely to use on this stick, and we'll do a few. I'll try and edit some of it out because some of it does take a little bit of time to carve, and I don't want to make the video too long, but you'll get the idea once we're finished. I've got a different selection of knives from all different types. Now, you should do this with one knife just to see how that knife performs for you. I'm going to use different knives to prove a point that you don't need expensive knives, but you can use your top end knives if you want to. So, we'll use a different variety of knives just to see that there's no real right or wrong knife. It just depends, what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So, yeah. So, there's my piece of hazel. So, I'll readjust the camera, and I'll bring you in for a close-ups of some of the cuts that we do. You'll hear a lot of the term stop cut. That's quite important in bushcraft. It's quite important when we're cutting things. Stop cut. All right. So you're going to hear that term, and we'll explain it more when we're carving out a few notches. You will need a sharp knife for this. Do not use a blunt knife. If you've got a blunt knife, it's no good. It needs sharpening, and part of the responsibility of owning a bushcraft knife is to be able to maintain and look after it. If you can't do that, you really shouldn't have to, be having knives. A blunt knife, you need to put a lot more force in behind your cuts, and that can be very dangerous because when it goes horribly wrong, there's a lot more force behind that knife. Very sharp knives, nice clean cuts on your wood, and it'll be a clean cut on your finger if it also goes horribly wrong. So yeah, make sure you have a first aid kit ready when you try these types of cuts. Yeah. So yeah, let's readjust the camera and get you in for a closer look. So like I said, this bit of wood that I've selected has got a few knots in it, and I just want to be mindful of these knots. I've got different selection of knives here. We'll try all different ones. Just take off these because they will become annoying. So just take them lower if you've got a stick up that's got these horrible notches in. They start biting into your hands and can give you some pretty horrible sores on your hands if you catch them wrong, especially when you're trying to do this. So use the forehand grip for these just to clear them out. It's a great grip, the forehand grip. You can put a lot of power in behind your cuts. So the first thing we'll do is we want to drive in the stick. So we always start the tri-stick by chamfering the edge, so we're ready to drive this stick in like we would a peg or an axe. And we do that by coming back and we start working the wood all the way around. You can see that it starts to get thinner. Then we take off them corners and we keep working that wood until we chamfer our edge. Forehand grip's enough for this. Very easy, very straightforward. Don't have to make it too thick. Round it off. Gives us a nice chamfered edge. We use that then for driving in stakes. So if this was a tent peg, we'd cut it there. And we could drive that into the ground. What that does is stop everything mushrooming, coming out and splitting. So whenever we want to drive anything into the ground, especially in bushcraft, we tend to chamfer and harden the edge. Don't have to have that as sharp. Some people go, oh, that's sharp. But you can chamfer over to however you want. But you get the idea. I'm trying to speed the video up so it's not too long for you guys. The next notch we're going to do is a round knot or a saddle notch. This is quite an easy one to do. I come in, and a lot of this in a minute will be all tip work on the knife. So I come in, I cut up. Now I turn the stick around. I never want to be cutting, with especially these knives, towards myself. We may have to in a minute, but that'll be controlled and we'll talk about that. You can see the idea. It's when I'm coming in on this cut, I'm just twisting and rolling the knife to give me that nice saddle notch. Yeah. Now some of you will recognise this notch. This notch is often used for cabin building or bushcraft shelter building because it quite easily gives you room. So if you're building a bed or something like that inside a bushcraft shelter, these notches are enough just to stop that stick rolling off, rolling out, and it makes for a really good tie point. You can tie down nice and tight with that, just recessed into that. We call that one the round notch, or as they do in America, a saddle notch. The next notch everyone would have heard of. It's called a 7 notch, and it's really straightforward to do as well. I come in with my knife. You can hold your stick. I'm going to put it on here. Push down. So that's what we call a stop cut. Whenever I have a stop cut, I always want to cut up to that knot, but not beyond it. So once again, I've cut down. I'm going to come back and I'm just going to push up to my stop cut and take it out. The thing is with a stop cut, you need to keep working that stop cut to take your next levels off, yeah? And you can see, as you do this, the number 7 will develop. Hence it's called the 7th notch, or the number 7 notch, I've heard it called. This notch is really used a lot in bushcraft for primitive traps. Everyone likes them. So we've got primitive traps is used on the 7th notch. What else is there? Tent pegs, really quick tent pegs. We use this notch, and you can see and it's shaped like a number 7. Yeah, so that's our next notch. So we've got a round or 7 notch. The next notch we're going to do is a round reduction knot. Now this is quite tricky to do, but the round reduction knot, normally I'm going to try and pick a bit, bearing in mind I've got that knot here in the wood, so I'm just going to ignore that section now. I'm going to come down here to above it because I don't want to be cutting into that. This time I need to completely cut around, because the idea of the round reduction notch is to round reduce the whole stick. So I'm going to come down, give myself plenty of room to work. Yeah. Try to get them to meet in the middle. If they don't, you can neaten that up later. What we then do is where we've put our stop cuts, so we just start working that. Take your time. Don't rush like me. Start working that knife. Just work it out. Creak it out. Try and get it as round as you can, or as neat as you can. Bearing in mind, you can always neaten these up at a later date. Can you see how I've just now scored that? Turn the whole stick over. Where I made my other round cut, I then simply cut in. Not too deep. You'll notice that I use the tip of the knife for a lot. And in bushcraft, it's really important that you keep the tip about an inch of your tip of your knife really sharp, and from the ricasso of the knife a good inch there, because that's the part of the blade that you will use the most for bushcraft, outdoor wilderness skills. They will always be the most important parts of your knife. Okay, I've cut now either side, so I just want to start taking out this middle part. Gently, slowly, there's no rush. Obviously you're going to have a lot more time. I love doing this around the campfire when I've got kind of a long time and I can just chill out, really enjoy what I'm doing. I'm just trying to give you the basic idea. The round reduction knot is often used for pegs or fence building, things like that. Something where you may have a drill point in a piece of wood and you just need to reduce the round, the diameter of the peg that you're trying to do. Take your time with this, like I said. Now this is, I'm going to cut towards myself now, but at no point, because I've got the heel of the knife here, I can't stab myself with it at all. It's very safe, very controlled, but very gentle. The thing is with this, you don't want to be taking big cuts. Nice little gentle moves. See the knife? And to get the most out of the blade, I'm using all the knife now, just to cut these rounds. And if I feel a sticking point, I'll stop and I'll leave it. And I'll come back to that. Starting to reduce that round, really nice. But because I'm going this way, I then need to turn this over. But you stick wherever you want and start coming again. Now I'm completely protected by the knife. Yeah, that's got a stick in between it. I've got full control and I'm only using these little tiny movements. Now I would suggest that if you're not very confident with a knife, you just work very slowly this way and away from yourself, which is a much safer way of doing it. But because I've been carving for so many years, a lot of cuts, a lot of times you need to be working towards yourself. All of a sudden we're starting to get a round reduction notch. I can make that as small or as big as I like. The only thing I will say with this one is all about taking your time with it. Yeah, so just take your time and do it. The next one we'll do is we'll do a square reduction. So on top of this, sometimes we have a round reduction, we'll do a square reduction. A little bit trickier, but the same principles are the same. I'm going to come right down, got a knot here, which is a pain. It's really winding me up because they're all in the way of this wood. Look for wood with no knots in it. Pretty impossible to find where I am at the moment. I've got a lot of new growth in my woodlands, which is nice in some respects, but bad for carving. So I've cut again, I've done that. Once again, I'm going to do a bit bigger this time. I'm going to cut up to it. Yeah. Now I want to meet that on the other side because I've got to stop cutting there. So I've kind of got that now. I'm going to do a square reduction on this. So I'll do 4 sides, just the way I find it easier to do. Yep. Turn the wood over. Don't be scared to keep turning your wood. Move your stick. Turn your wood over. And I just do the 4 cuts. Same this side. Another cut up there. Another cut up there. Now I just need to square this off to make it a square reduction. So I'm going to cut this nice and square. Now if you think you've got a twist in your wood, mine's slightly twisted, we can still square that up in a minute by some very clever, and it may look twisted because you've still got that middle part in. That's the that's where people often go wrong with this notch. Remember my stop cuts. There. This is great to do outside as a project, trust me. I wouldn't want to be in the workshop doing this normally. However, it's so nice to get out the rain. Just working that wood all the time, squaring it up. Now we're going to just square that up nicely. And we get this lovely square reduction. Obviously, I need a bit more time to neaten that up, but we'll just move on to the next one because we haven't got all night, and I don't want to be here too long with you. It's your time, and I've got all night, but you obviously got more YouTube videos to watch than to watch me rabbling on how to do a tri-stick. So the next notch, quite a tricky notch to do. We could do the dovetail. That's one of my favourite ones to put in. That takes a bit of time, but hopefully I'll show you the dovetail on a different video, because if I go camping tomorrow night, I'll be doing one of these as well at the campfire, which I will enjoy more. The next notch that we use a lot of in bushcraft is the pot hanger knot, or the cross. I've heard it called all types of things, from the beak notch to the cross notch to All it is it's like a beak notch that you can hang pots on. It's often called the pot hanger notch. And this is one where you need to put a cross on your wood. Straightforward. I've got to be careful because this knife is razor sharp and it will just push through this hazel. And cut it. So you can see I've just put a cross. I don't know if you can pick that up in the camera. I've just put a cross on the piece of wood. Going to cut up to that beak, take it out. Don't worry about that because all these sides that have got to come out. I come in at an angle and now I push down into that and I take that out. I'll work this as best I can. You know your knife is sharp when it's just eating the wood here. Now, cut down a bit. I'll just notch that out a little bit because I'm going to notch up to this again now. The pot hanger notch. You can really practice this notch. And I would for your bushcraft, if you come on an advanced bushcraft course, because this is a notch that you will use a lot of for pot hangers and stuff, and for camp chores. So just be mindful that if you're on an advanced course, this notch will be used a lot. Remember your stop cuts. Let me even that up a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it does need to be all right, neat and tidy. Once I get to this stage, I'm starting to undercut it, and I want to undercut this as best I can because I want a pot to be able to quite easily hang on there. So I start cutting in and undercutting what I've done. All right. And I will show you this notch up close in a minute. Don't think the camera picks it up that well. Yeah. Remember, the tip of your knife is your best friend when it comes to notches like this. Can you see how the pot hanger knot works? Yeah. You can virtually hang anything off that and it will stay on there. What have I got here? So your pot can quite easily hang and it locks onto it so it doesn't let go of it. Really important notch to know, the pot hanger knot, or what the you know, the beak notched. I've heard it called different things, but try and learn that one. It's a good one to learn. So there are quite a lot of other notches that you can actually do. We'll do one more off the top of my head. The V notch, that's used in some primitive traps. The V notch. Stop cut, middle of your wood. From one side, cut into that. From the other side, turn it around, cut into it again. Can you see how you start getting your V notch? It's going to be a lot steeper than your round notch. I've seen it used once for shelter building on a Viking house, which was quite interesting, the V notch. But it's also a great way for holding pieces of timber that you want a quick notch, and I find that better notch to do with an axe, believe it or not, on larger timber. The V notch, it really works well. So that's basically the tri-stick. Oh, with the end here, they do say that you can put on a root stripper for stripping roots. Spruce roots are often used as cordage in the wilderness, so it's a good one to use. I just put a edge on there. I then cut a V out. Now, some people do this and they'll rock their knife backwards and forwards. If you've got a sharp knife with a good tip, you can quite easily cut your V out as your root stripper. So it's for stripping the barks off your roots. It's no fuss. It's as simple as that. The root goes in there, you rip it through. You've all seen it. So yeah, so let's go through them. So we just chamfered off the end as if it was a peg for driving in. We did the round or the saddle notch. We did the 7 notch. We did the round reduction notch. We did the square notch. We did the pot hanger notch or the beak notch. And then we did the V notch with a root stripper. So there's just a few. Oh, let me move you up. So yeah, there's just a few notches that you need to learn. Like I say, my top tip for you is keep your knife very strong, very strong and very sharp, by stropping. Don't overpower your cuts with with a lot of strength, because if you've got to force something, then you're probably trying to do too much at once. Just really take your time. I've rushed through that really. A good stick in like getting them notches all perfect, you can take you up to 2 or 3 hours. It depends how much pride you want to put into your work. I've seen some sticks real huge with different notches on. It looked absolutely stunning. But that's just a quick idea to get you started, and hopefully you will be able to I'd like to see other people do some videos on it. Tri-stick. So if you manage to do a video on a tri-stick, even if you don't normally film YouTube videos, just you've got a channel, but make it your first video, and just make sure you leave a comment on this video to say that you did the tri-stick. Take a look so I know who you are and your stick and how it's come out. So yeah, so thanks for watching. I'm sorry I didn't sorry if I have bored you for the last 20-30 minutes, but yeah, stay safe, stay good. I should hopefully see you on a camp. I'm hoping to film that one if the bloody weather breaks, but until then I'm in the workshop for the rest of the evening. I've got some bits to clean up and some preps to fill up. I've got oil lanterns to service and all types of stuff going on at the moment, and I may get to bed about 12 o'clock tonight the way it's going. So I will speak to you all on the next one. Stay sharp.